Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Brews and Blues, and today me, your host Tisha, with our very special guest, Captain Cyrano. Woo! Okay, Cap, I'm very honored for you to be here today. So can you please introduce yourself to everyone?
Okay. Thanks for having me to be interviewed by you on behalf of the on the outfit. Yeah. Okay. I always start this way. My name is Cyrano. Latif is the surname. All right. I'm Javanese. All right. Born bred Singaporean. All right. Who went into flying? Yeah. Since this is a flying podcast, when I was at age 30 lah. All right, started flying with the Singapore Flying College. That was my first taste of flying. Thereafter, when in the Singapore Flying College, you get to fly all the Bonanzas, the Cessnas, the small aircrafts. Yeah? And thereafter, you having graduated with the pilot's license, you move on to the fleet. And I had the opportunity to fly at that time with Singapore Airlines, the Airbus 310, the 777, 747, right? And even during training, we had the opportunity to be trained in a jet conversion phase, we call it, on the Learjet 31. Yeah. So that's sort of the start of the career in aviation with an airline. I also had a stint with Hong Kong Airlines, where I got my we call it the rating for the Boeing 737. Then not until in 2012, I had the opportunity to move to AirAsia, where I flew the Airbus 320. Yeah.
I think you retired with the Asia airline, correct?
Yes, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I decided to step back from flying, and yeah, so it's 2 years already since June 2022, like that. Yeah. So now I'm doing some consulting work lah with some of the flying outfits in Malaysia.
That's such a long phase, but how did your journey of becoming a pilot started? When did it start? Like, what inspired you to be one?
Okay. Okay. So this one is very historical lah. So it goes all the way. In fact, the start was actually the failure of trying to get into flying. You know, I remember when I was in school, we had the opportunity to sit down to listen to recruiters from the outfits in Singapore. All right, I applied. I didn't manage to get into the outfit. Then I tried again when I was in the military. Again, I was not successful, and then only after much later, when I was age 30, you know, I remember telling this story about how my wife said that, hey, you know, we need. By then, we had 3 kids in the family. I was a military officer, and she said, hey, and she was working, so I was working. We were both working, but we had 3 kids. And then she said, hey, I want to spend time with the kids.
Yeah.
Can you actually now
work full time?
Yeah, find something that we can support the family. So, and she suggested, and I agreed. I said, okay, maybe we could try flying. So I went into flying. At that time, the airline, Singapore Airlines, was just about to increase the age limit for admission from 30 to 32. So I applied, and I got in as a cadet pilot. Yeah. And that started the actual flying, training, and exposure in aviation. Yeah.
Okay. So, like, from your experience throughout your entire journey of becoming a pilot, what's the most challenging that you've ever faced during those phases?
Okay. There are several challenges. In fact, maybe I could just run off a few. One is I remembered even in studying out, learning how to fly, you know, in ground school, at there's a lot of exams actually that you have to take, and I remember that it was not as easy as the exams that we had in school. It was a different environment, it was a different system, it was a different methodology of assessment. And I remember I wasn't doing too well. So and that shocked my system for a while. I had to adjust quite a bit because having got used to so many things before that, and then now it's the flying sort of environment. So that was first big challenge, because I didn't just pass fully, with flying colours or nothing of that sort. So there were failures, there were failed papers and all that kind of thing. But then as long as you keep going back, I kept going back and then clearing the papers. So eventually got into flying, the next phase of flying. The other one is, of course, during the time that I was already flying as a line pilot, as a productive pilot, as a commercial pilot, was the accident that I was that I had to experience in 2000 in Taipei. So that was a very a challenging crisis, very challenging time of my life. So for a certain number of years, for a few years, we had to really stay hard and to really face up to all the different challenges that came about out of that accident.
I see. So during that time, like, how do you face it, like physically, mentally?
Okay, so this is a big question. All right. So I would like to share it from a psychosocial perspective, right? That I think support and assistance is vital from different parties. We had a lot of support. It was not all just me going through alone. From my wife, from my parents, from the family, even the larger family, and even friends, and even strangers. And the pilot community, or the pilot fraternity. So there are many parties that were a part of coming in to support, to assist, to provide resource, advice, to us, not only to me but also to the family, to really cushion all the challenges, so that we could really move on. So so it is a psychological challenge, it's an emotional challenge, but then just like what they all say, all things will come to pass. Most challenges will come to pass. So you have to enjoy it. You have to really be steadfast about it. Just hang on to what you believe, your faith, and then believe in people, believe in the system, and really it will come around. The system will come around to really support you.
Okay, so thank you for sharing your experience. But I just would like to ask you, we all know that you are now an educator in the Aviation Academy. So I would like to ask, like, what in your academy, what kind of areas that you are covering as an educator?
Okay, maybe I share a little bit of background on where I started or how I started in academia lah. Right, I was approached by an institution, which is Temasek Polytechnic in Singapore, to be part of a team to develop a diploma in Singapore. It's an aviation diploma. That was done in 2007, 2008. It's been running from that time until today, and so when I first joined them in 2008, I had to develop a couple of modules. One of it was principles of aeronautical science, the sciences in flying, and also a human factors and safety module. And I found the human factors module being the most exciting, refreshing, especially for young people. And why it was pretty close to my heart, because I was able to relate to all those concepts, principles in human factors to my previous experience in the accident. So I'm able to bring real life experiences and its relevance to the theoretical study. And I tried as much as possible to make it as real. And because it is really indeed dealing with actual issues, that I remember the first class that took up that study, and it was in PBL, in problem-based learning manner. It became very, very exciting. It became very engaging. It was an eye-opener for a lot of the students in Singapore. Yeah.
As you mentioned about like the human factors in aviation safety, how do you emphasize it in like the training programs? Like, why is human factors that important?
Yeah, I think I was able to do it because, like what I mentioned, it was based on a real case scenario, you know, and all I did was to provide them with the resources, the research materials, the reading materials, you know, and students are pretty sharp these days. They're able to piece together all the information, and once they're able to piece together information, resource them, and really match them up, merge the information together, they will find a lot of learning outcomes, a lot of learning issues that you don't normally find in a theoretical or classroom-based situation. Yeah. So I think that was the part. That's why it's refreshing, engaging, and different. You know, in that approach that we did lah.
Yeah. So, what motivates you to transition from being a captain to now an educator for like many student pilots?
Okay. So why from flying pilot to an educator? Okay. Maybe. Yeah, I've always shared with different forums or different settings that even in my first career, when I was in the military, I had heavily been involved in the training and development of young leaders, young commanders in the army. That probably seeded the zest, the interest in developing people. So, and then of course, in academia, that's what it is. In education, it's the same. It's about developing young minds and, you know, and developing individuals. So I think that sort of stayed on, and then continued to develop, to build on, you know. So the way I look at it, it's just a natural transition, a natural development, you know, to really still continue, be in touch with young people, with learning adults even today, you know. And that's what it is, you know.
Is there like a huge difference between like military education about like pilots and also our like commercial pilot license?
Okay, there are some common things. You lack of better word, let me just mention leadership, for example. So leadership is something that is critical in a military environment. Leadership is also critical in an aviation environment, and if we scale it down to the cockpit or flight operations, leadership is just as important. As long as you have humans, just like human factors is about human centered approach, as long as you have humans, you will need that element of leadership, you know, and leadership dynamics that goes along with it. Yeah, so that's one example of something that's really common, you know, it's applicable all across these different domains or areas of even fraternities, you know, leadership. Yeah. So of course you have other values or other systems. Communication, very simple. Again, human-centered topic, right? As long as you have individuals, not one but many teams, you do need communication. And the military is about teams, flying, the aviation team, an airline, and even those flying in an aircraft, the cabin crew, and the pilots. They are all actually a team. So you look at it, you need communication. Or, it traverses all these different domains.
I see. I think this question will be your favorite questions. Okay, Kat, what is MPL? And why is it important in the aviation industry?
Okay, so MPL, like what I mentioned, it's quite a big topic to cover. But if I can just share about MPL, well, MPL, multi-crew pilot license. It's a I wouldn't say new because it's been around for some years now. Multi-crew pilot license. The way I look at it, it complements the existing commercial pilot license and ATPL license training and development. All right. The MPL, I remember in 2010 being at a visit to ICAO, one of the at the NGAP conference, Next Generation of Aviation Professionals conference. There was a team that presented about MPL on how they were going to do how they were going to go about it and all that. So MPL was back then already hatched and in fact manifested already. It was in certain airline or airlines even, and I can say that in fact that same spirit, that same mind, that same thinking of how to develop that MPL, those same minds are behind that same MPL program that is in your institution now, ATA. All right. So I am very confident that MPL is one of the appropriate, suitable, very suitable approach to pilot training. All right, and because it's something that has been looked through, thought through, adapted, built on. All right, and one of the things that it is built on, it's because it is actually built on the technology that we have now. So, for example, in MPL, there will be greater use of the simulators, right? So, greater use of simulators is actually technology because of over the time they have actually developed the fidelity of the simulators to be very to use the simulators coupled with a very thought through, well developed instructional and assessment system, which now we call it the CBTA, right? A competency based training and assessment system. So with all this being put in, it becomes a lot more rigorous training system. All right, so I'm very confident that actually using the MPL or student training through an MPL, all right, would have experienced that level of rigor in terms of becoming a pilot.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting that you talk about simulators. So, from your perspective, what kind of like new trends, new technologies that have changed over the years from before you are a pilot to now an educator? So what kind of trends that are changing from the educator perspective?
New trends, Okay, new trend. I would say the proficiency and the evolution of instruction, the pedagogy. That means the teaching style, the learning style, understanding learning styles of the participant. That area of study, that area of work has actually moved forward quite a lot. We now, well, as much as people say the human is the weakest link, the human is also the strongest link in terms of safety, because the human is the one that will be there to ensure, to catch, to maintain, to trap errors, if you in the study of human factors. Okay, so if you look at it, what has happened is that there has been a focus, some time back, in terms of technology, how we enhance technology, strengthen technology to enhance safety. But now there's actually looking back again on how we develop the human with the technology, together, coupled, all right, and then to see how it can be safer and safer. Yeah.
All right, Cap. So the second last question. What do you think the future holds for the aviation industry in 10 to 20 years?
Okay, big question, big question. Just broadly, I think the aviation industry will continue to grow, especially in this part of in our part of the world. You know, if you can read anywhere, you know, all the aviation research will show that aviation the trend is towards growth, is towards more travel, more passenger uh, traffic, you know. So having said that, what does it mean to your institution? What does it mean to a training environment? Okay, is that basically there will be more job opportunities.
Correct.
Because there's more, because aviation is going to grow, right?
Yes.
So there's going to be more jobs. What does it mean for a flying outfit? It means you will need to churn out more pilots. All right. So therefore, there's no better time than now if you actually want to try to go into flying. All right, because the industry is growing. You know, airlines are, you can actually go and resource and search that airlines are now putting a lot of orders, all right, to buy aircrafts. All right, the training of flight crew is actually now going to ramp up very soon. Okay, so that those are the opportunities. So in the next five, within the next 5 years to 10 years, you will see this tremendous growth.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like right now, we also have like increase of like pilots, correct? From
Yeah.
a lot, mostly from in Malaysia. We have like Malaysia Airline, Aviation are all looking for private pilots because their pilots aren't enough.
Yeah. So everybody is
Yeah.
trying to actually. One way is to pull in from existing pilots who are flying other aircrafts or, you know, into the airline environment. The other way is for the airline to train them their own pilots. Right. So whichever way, there are many other ways, you know, that you can actually churn out pilots. Yeah.
That's a refreshing thing to hear. I think most of our viewers will be very thrilled to know that in 5 to 10 years, the job opportunities will start to increase. But I would like for you.
So having said that, it's not only flying, the whole aviation system. So even the airports will start to grow. Airports will develop more complex systems. You know, so for example, you just look at Changi Airport. Changi will have T5, and T5 is going to be developed at a distance, geographical distance between the other T1, T2, T3, and T4. So they would have to develop systems to be able to coordinate, to run, to operate such a system. Yeah, and that involves growth. You see? So the industry will definitely grow.
They will increase. They will add one more terminal.
Yes.
Good. Now I will be very dizzy if I go there. Don't know which terminal to go later. Okay, all right. So I don't mind if you want to look at that camera or this camera. So what advice would you give to student pilots now, or maybe in the future if they plan on being one?
Okay. Trainee pilots, cadet pilots, student pilots. In short, individuals who are learning how to fly, to develop into flying and all that. Right. This is one thing that I thought very personal, is to look at it very holistically. It means flying is, yes, primarily about a lot of technical skills, about handling a machine, all right, but it is actually more than that. It is actually managing a whole system. And this system is not only the flying machine, it is instruments, it is systems within that flying machine, it is the humans, it is actually your co-pilot or the set of crew that's flying with you, it is your dealing and management of your cabin crew, your dealing or your communication with the air traffic control, your rapport with the ground people, with the apron, those who are actually doing refueling, doing the in-flight catering. So the aviation system, the airline environment or flying environment is very complex now. So therefore, look at it now from a very holistic perspective. It's not just about how well can you fly the aircraft, but on how well can you manage the flight. I think if you see that way, I think you cannot go wrong. Yeah?
That's a very good advice.
Terkejut ya.
Terkejut. All right. Thank you so much for your time today, Cap. And I hope anyone who wishes to join our MPL,
Program,
our
program.
MPL program, inshallah you'll be meeting Captain Cyrano. It'll be a very interesting program to run with you together. So inshallah, thank you
Thank you.
so
Thank you
much,
very
Captain
much.
Cyrano, for
Thanks.
today.
Thanks.
Okay, yay!